Hey y'all, I hope you are enjoying this springtime. I'm not gonna lie, this pollen is kicking my behind, but it's okay. Nevertheless, I have a quick message for you, and it's about how you can be undefeated. This came to me the other day while I was washing the dishes, and I was thinking to myself, what does Ronda Rousey, Floyd Mayweather, Serena Williams, Jackie Joyner, Kirsty, Usain Bolt, all these crazy people, Jesus, Simone Biles, Muhammad Ali, like what all do they all have in common? And really, they're all undefeated. And I think that's where everyone wants to be in life, or at least to feel as though they're either undefeated or you have a crazy good record to where you can say you are very close to being undefeated. And I took a second to think about it, and I realized two things have to be in play if you want to be undefeated. But before even getting there, you also have to be challenged. Okay, it has to be a challenge. Being undefeated doesn't mean you go through life without challenges. You're not a winner if you haven't been challenged. If it's too easy, you can't be undefeated, and or it doesn't count. Like, I don't want to be the corner undefeated hopscotch champion. Okay, that's great and all. Meanwhile, who's winning Wimbledon, right? So that's the first thing, is you have to be willing to go through challenges and to be challenged. But all of these people, not only are they undefeated or they have amazing records, but they are all, one, extremely disciplined, and two, they have all submitted to someone else's coaching and or authority, right? So one, the discipline portion, that goes without saying. We all want to be successful, but no one wants to be disciplined. And discipline is just basically doing the things that you need to do versus the things that you feel like doing. Quite frankly, I never feel like doing anything, but I know that I have to do certain things in order to, continue to grow, to still, live out my purpose, to be purposeful, to be, all of these different things. But the second part is the part that most people have the most difficulty with, which is submitting to someone else. And ultimately it comes down to the fact that human beings have an inability to see themselves. And the only way you can really see yourself is if you were to look in a mirror. Well, the goal is not to look at yourself in the mirror all day and to create some form of self-idolatry and things like that, because eventually you'll drive yourself crazy, or you'll become just some crazy narcissist or whatever, and you'll still lead yourself, down the wrong path, because what you see and what you choose to focus on is still based on your personal perceptions. So that still isn't going to lead you to being the best version of yourself. Why? Because you're just choosing yourself and what you already are over and over again. And that's not where growth comes from. So you have to find someone that you're willing to submit to their coaching and their guidance and their authority and their accountability, that sort of thing. And you could do this in every area of your life, and think about what area of your life do you want to become undefeated in. It could be your health. We all know we have to be disciplined with our health. And you have to submit to someone else's authority when it comes to that, whether it's a trainer, whether it's a teacher, whether it's your doctor or whatever. They're going to tell you how to exercise, what to do, what to eat, what not to do, how often, whatever. They're going to tell you to go when you want to stop. But you have to submit to that, if you want to see results, because they see something that you don't see, or they know something, but maybe you are dealing with a blockage that isn't allowing you to be in alignment with that for yourself yet. So you have to be willing to do that. And, and we see it a lot, especially here in America, to where about 85% of the diseases that we see day to day, from, high blood pressure, diabetes, hypertension, there's so many different things, but 85% of what we're seeing day to day is lifestyle based. Meaning there's something in the way that we're living and what we're doing that is creating this underlying disease. What we're eating, what we're not eating, all of those different things, right? And so now I'm not talking about the 15% of, people who were born with a rare genetic disorder, and you had maybe type 1 diabetes or, something like that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the other 85%, where if we were to be, more disciplined, and if we would submit to someone else's authority, someone else's plan, we probably wouldn't be able to, or we probably wouldn't go through the same challenges that we go through, and we could be undefeated in that area, right? Or at least undefeated until death, because we all got to die at some point. But you get what I'm saying? So, if you want to be undefeated in your health, just discipline yourself and submit to someone that can get you there. And that goes for your finances as well. Don't get me wrong. There are always things that pop up. Always. There's always things that pop up. But that doesn't mean that you can't live your life in a way and disciplining yourself in a way to where things that pop up aren't always catastrophic. And sometimes when you haven't submitted to something or submitted to someone's plan or your own financial plan and you're not disciplining your finances, then, something that could be a pop-up series or like a oops or like accident or whatever now becomes, a snowball effect to where it's created a financial catastrophe in your life, And those things do happen, but you can set yourself up to where it doesn't have to, just be this heart opening, bleeding profusely, type of thing, right? So, for instance, one of the methods, I had to submit to someone else's financial method, and that was like a zero net lifestyle. I'll post a video about it or what have you, but one of my mentors, she talked about, how everything that you have, you should have something else that pays for that. So for me, it's my house, and I have my house set up in a way to where the majority, of my living expenses and things like that, have paid for themselves in a way, and I mean, it can go from whether I'll put a car on Turo, I'll do something to make sure that I have some sort of asset to take care of my liabilities. But that was me submitting to someone else's plan. Now, you don't have to have a plan like that. Like maybe you're like, I can't have roommates. I can't do all these other things, right? Like I have. But, there will be a plan for you that someone else has created. You just have to be willing to submit yourself to that and to do it continuously. And I mean, we can even go further into relationships. You got to be disciplined in relationships, disciplined in your communications, how you respect each other. You got to be disciplined with how you treat each other, date nights, whatever that may be. But also there may be a time where you have to submit your relationship to someone else. There may be another couple, that has great advice. It could be a therapist, your pastor. Sometimes, and a lot of times, it takes a third party that you're willing to submit your relationship to and to help coach you through, or you and your partner through the relationship challenges to ensure that the relationship's successful. But either way, you still have to be willing to be disciplined, right, with your relationship, and you have to be willing to submit to the relationship to someone else if you wanted to see or to be successful. And that's okay. And, and you can go into that as far as your career, maybe investing, but any area of your life that you want to see be extremely successful, you have to be willing to do those things. You have to be willing to be disciplined, and you got to be willing to submit to someone else's authority and someone else's guidance. Because without those two things, it just becomes too difficult. And I am not positive enough to believe, or I don't have enough positivity, I guess, to believe that I can be successful in any area without those two things. You know what I mean? Because without those two things, I'm really asking for magic, okay? And my life is not Disney World. And the world that we live in is not Disney World. So we got to use some things that are practical and pragmatic, and discipline and submission are two of those two things. So take this advice. And I want you to just write down, like, what areas in your life do you want to be undefeated in, and ask yourself, how can I be more disciplined, and who do I need to find to submit to? Who can coach me through this? Who can hold me accountable? And I promise you, if you do those two things, you will find yourself with a way better winning streak, especially in that area. And then, maybe you don't do all areas of your life, Like, I think we should do it in all 5 areas of our life, which I'll go through in another video. But start off with one. Maybe you can only handle doing it in your health right now. Then you add your health and your relationship. Then you do your health, your relationships, and your finances. Then your health, relationships, finances, and career. Then you just go from there until you're just living this full round life, and you got a really winning score. But remember, being undefeated doesn't mean you go unchallenged. It just means you're challenged and you win. Remember that part. Thank you guys. Don't forget, like, subscribe, join my group. I have another lesson that I'm going to teach on Saturday morning, this Saturday morning. Go to the link in my bio. You can sign up to be in the group. Your first month is free. After that, it's like $25, $30, something like that. Join, contribute, and then we're going to hold each other accountable. All right? Thank you.